Hi guys, good evening everyone. Please, can you confirm if you can hear my voice, please? Just with an emoji. I'd love to see your emojis pop up, guys, please. If you can hear my voice, you can drop an emoji. All right, that is amazing. Yeah, we are so happy that today is actually Easter Day, and I'm welcoming everyone to this program. Although we understand the fact that a lot of people might be busy with so many things, maybe outings or some stuffs, and it's also weekend, but then you taking out your time to come on this program to have a session with us, we'll really appreciate you and we promise you you're gonna enjoy it, right? So I don't know, how's everyone doing today? How's our day been? How's our weekend been for we that went to church? Other guys that are not Christians, how has your weekend been? I just hope everyone is fine and you could tell me in the comment box how you feel today, right? So I think without wasting much of our time, we cannot see my screen, I believe, and today we'll be talking about the step-by-step process of building a design system for consistency. Yeah, I actually know that a lot of us might have had the word design system, and a lot of us might have worked with design systems, and some of us might have not worked with design systems. But then this section is going to break down what a design system is and give us insight on how to interact with it or how it's made. And after this, I think all your questions regarding design systems will be answered, and you have the full insight of what it means or what it takes to come up with a design system. So our speaker for today is Andy Kanbasi. Yeah, he's a product designer. I don't know. Welcome, sir. Please, can you hear me? Maybe you could unmute your mic and just say hi, or you could drop an emoji.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, welcome, sir. Welcome, sir.
Thank you
Yeah,
very much.
we are so pleased to have you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll do a quick intro before I invite you on board to share your screen and address our audience today. So, welcome once
All right.
again for those just tuning in. Andy Kanbasi is a digital product designer with focus on interface and experience design. He specializes in creating visually appealing and easy to use digital products with over 4 years of experience working with businesses and individuals. He takes pride in providing exceptional design services that exceed his clients' expectations. What sets him apart from other designers is his emphasis on collaboration. He believes that working closely with his clients and understanding their unique needs and goals is key to creating successful digital products. He also have a deep understanding of usability and interactions, which means he know what it takes to create a product that not only looks great, but also function well and provide a positive user experience and feedbacks. In addition, his expertise in interface and experience design, he has a strong background in usability and interactions and is committed to staying up to date with latest trends, technologies to ensure that his clients receive the best possible design solution. This is our speaker for today, and we are looking forward to have a wonderful session with you, sir. So once again, I welcome everybody to the Pexel Design Digest section. This session is going to be like a practical section, and please, I will encourage everybody that has a question or that is struggling to catch up with the session, maybe you can't hear or something or has an issue, please just use the comment box. Just use the comment box to indicate your issue, and we'll try our best to see how we could get that sorted as soon as we can. So please, I welcome on stage Andy Kanbasi, our product designer in charge of today's section. You're welcome, sir. You could share your screen, and also if you are open to a video conversation with us, you could just make it as engaging as possible. Welcome you once again, sir.
All right, thank you very much. Once again, good evening, everyone. I Yes, my name is Andy Kambasi, as he has previously shared, and I'm really, really pleased to show you guys what I know and what I have for you, you know, on design systems. So, yeah, I think at this point I'll share my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we can, sir. We can see your screen.
Okay. All right. So, yeah, this is what I have. Okay, let's get started. This is what I'll be talking about. What is a design system? Um, why and when you need one, how to create it. And for this session, I'll be using Figma since it's a tool I'm sure most of you are familiar with, if not all of you. And then I'll just go through how we define the components and everything that's necessary to have a basic design system up and running, how you document and maintain, and then obviously implementing it, in real products. So yeah, that's basically what I have for you guys. Can you guys hear me very well? Please, if you can't, just indicate with a wave or. All right,
Of
beautiful.
course, we can hear
Beautiful.
you loud and clear, sir.
All right. Okay, so what is a design system? Um, a very simple definition is just a product, playbook, a guide, a Bible of sorts. Or you understand? A guide on how a product team builds, designs, builds, and maintains their products across all disciplines. Okay, so for those of us who want a proper definition, it's basically a collection of reusable components, design principles, and code guidelines. This is specific to digital software design. So things that you're familiar with, like your mobile apps, websites, basically what guides the teams that build and maintain all these products that you're familiar with and you use on a day-to-day basis. That's what we call a design system. And also out here that it helps teams build consistent experiences faster with fewer mistakes and less back and forth. So basically, it's just ensuring it's a guide that ensures that regardless of what product a company or a team is engaging on, the thing always comes out looking consistent. For example, um, after Facebook at the time acquired WhatsApp and acquired Instagram, they found a way to standardize the way the interface looks. That if you pick it up on a day, or I mean, at any time of the day, at the night, you can easily tell that this is a Facebook product. That is only possible because they have a design system that has been able to scale. All right. So now on to why and when do you need one? So starting a design system could come at any point, could be at the beginning of a new product or you know some halfway through, halfway through the design or development. And then even after the product has been launched, but we want to document and have a system for scaling. So the point I'm trying to make here is that There's no set time, although the earlier the better. You can always start a design system at any time of the life cycle, but it's usually advised to do it from the beginning. So yeah, like what I have here, you need a design system when you realize you're designing the same component or the same elements in too many different ways, or your engineering team, your development team, is just not getting it right. So think of a design system as um, a building plan, or the building plan will be too specific. Let's think of it more like a um, what's this word they used to describe town planning, for example. Now, a town planning map shows which areas of any particular city they are going to mark for, say residential, say for businesses, say for public spaces. So, and then how do we want each of these spaces to interact? What kind of, what kind of vehicles, what kind of people, what kind of buildings, designs do we allow? What kind of colors, the vegetation, all of that. So I'm just trying to give another example that is to show that these design systems aren't just limited to the tech industry. All right. Okay, let me start this. Something wrong with this slide. But by the way, like so far from what I've said, after following me, is there any question or um, anything that we haven't gotten so far?
All right, so I
Um,
think you can proceed. You can proceed. By the time we're
all
done, we'll
right, all right.
just have our questions just once.
Oh, okay, okay, that makes sense. Let me just go through. Okay, so yeah, how do you create one? Like everything, you start small, start from the basics. So you perform an audit of everything that you currently have. So let's say you're working in a team and you're designing a mobile app, okay, maybe for a product that has maybe a user end, maybe one for agents, and then an admin. So, and at the time you come in, maybe they're done with the user app and they are working on the agent one. That would be a good time to start, um, organizing a design system. So picking up every component that has been created for the first app or the first dashboard or the first product, whichever case it may be. And then defining the basics, colors, typography, spacing, icons, and then you build your base components. So things like buttons, forms, the way navigations work, and then you document all of these things. If you notice from the things I have listed out, these are things that tend to repeat everywhere. So whether you're doing a website, whether you're doing a mobile app, you will always need, you know, text elements. So typography, you will need to have a defined spacing system, whether you're going to use 8 point, 16, 12, whatever. You would need icons that are not only legible, but also scale across, all screen sizes. And obviously things like buttons, forms, menus, okay? And then obviously once you've done that audit, you document it. Okay, you explain this size of buttons, we tend to use this for mobile apps. This size of text, we use it to do headers or body copy, all of that. That's basically what this what I was trying to apply here. Yeah, basically your navigation, button and forms, your pads, modals, um, typography, the kind of grid systems you use, the kind of icons that you use across your products. And then in Figma, we're going to talk about tokens, components, and guidelines. So this is basically translating all of those things you documented into an actual Figma document that any designer or developer can use and interpret. So, like I said, things like the color, spacing, font sizes, and then reusable components, which are based on these basic tokens, and then the guidelines. So, annotations on okay, using this kind of size for maybe a mobile pop-up, but using a bigger one for a web pop-up. And then obviously, creating a Figma library and naming it properly so that anybody that comes in can easily understand. Okay. So I think at this point, I would just like to show an example of a few so that you have an idea as to what I've been talking about here. So this is a file that is, I believe it's online. Or if it's not, I'll share the link to this. This is the version that anyone can have access to. So for I worked on this with a fellow designer earlier this year, and we created a very basic design system for this. So for this first screen, okay, let me start from the beginning. For the first screen, obviously, the basic branding assets. Since it was just a one-time website, we just had just their logo. Then obviously the colors that we use. And if you note here, we didn't just put the colors, we also tested them on actual samples. You understand? So apart from just having different shades, we also tested them out with the elements that we knew we were going to use. So text elements or buttons and all of that. Then the icon set that the three icon sets that we decided to go with, we had all of them listed out here. And then typography, this is where we had more standardized tests. So things like headings, you know, headings and body copy over here. Now, what you're seeing right now is basically just a visual representation, like a visual test to show that these things that we created actually work. The colors tend to work and they make sense. Figma has variables, like a very nice way of documenting or creating your organizing a design system here. And we use that on this project. So for example, for typography, we created a lot of elements. Basically, the various font families we're going to use, the various typefaces we use, and then standard font sizes that, from my experience, we know we could possibly use on a web design project. And then things like line heights, font weights, letter spacing. So the point is that we took time to understand, okay, for a website, we're going to use a lot of type, there's a lot of fonts and different sizes, obviously, to get good hierarchy. So we took time here to organize everything. And we did the same for colors as well. So for the different font families that we're using, and different shades. We atomize them here. Okay. Now I want to show three companies that have public design systems. By the way, these three files, you can access them on Figma community. So after this session, you can read them up. I suggest you do that. So on opening this file, you can obviously see a few differences. On their own, they itemize their core items here, like their colors. Yes, so since IBM is more of an enterprise company, they build products for large organizations, even governments and big corporate people. You know, they need to be much more detailed. So this just goes to show that the design system can be as small or as large, depending the on what the project needs at that time. Check this. Okay, so we have colors for every item that they use. So for backgrounds, on application windows, for different layers, even for things like borders, for text as your fonts, a different style for links, icons, and support tickets and buttons, and all of these, and then coming over here, they itemize every kind of interface element that they use. So things like buttons, you understand? Buttons, drop downs, forms. Obviously, I won't go through all of this now during the call. We'll spend hours on this. So that's why I said that after this, I'll share these three, the links to all three, so you can obviously go through them in much more detail. Because ideally, a design system is something that takes time. It's something you want to get at least get right at the beginning so that it scales with you. Um, if you come to Monday.com, another software company, which is something most of you will be familiar with, the same thing applies here. Yeah, colors, typography, shadows. Let me zoom into the class. So I said colors, yes, typography, things like shadows, how they do their corners, and spacing. So for these people, they seem to be using multiples of 4 and all of that. Then the same thing applies here. Buttons, inputs, and all of this. And then obviously the navigation, like what I mentioned earlier. I believe okay, this is for GitLab, yes. So the same thing here. Colors, typography, spacing, and then their core items, like even forms, for example. So different states for selected, maybe error, basically every use case. So if you're doing one from scratch, now that we even have tools, AI tools, you can ask something like ChatGPT to help you come up with a checklist that okay, I'm building a mobile app, a web app, and a web, dashboard, and I need to create a design system that scales through all of those examples. What elements do I need to take note of. And then it will give you all of that. So yes, it looks like it's a lot because no, actually it is a lot. But with the tools we have to do, these things are way, way much easier. Okay. So yes, okay. I've talked about this and I've shown you examples in Figma. Then obviously documenting. So there's a popular corporate policy that any discussion that isn't documented doesn't exist. So the same thing applies here. If it's not written down or documented in some way, there's no proof, you know, there's no there's no way to reference it. Let me put it that way. So to do that, I would say suggest you create a central source. So whether you want to do that in Figma, Notion, even in Google Documents, you understand? And this document should include the basic, usage examples and edge cases. So if you look at, let's look at this IBM with Carbon. So you see in this their one, everyone here has been documented, and then they explain what password input actually does. And then when you select, you see all the descriptions, you know. This way, any developer that's working on any of their products doesn't need to come and ask the designer, when you're doing, I'm doing password input or for the login screen. And then the design that you did, you put 300 as your width, but I'm seeing 200. No, 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 no. Having this central source of truth eliminates all of that so that people don't guess because they guess, they are bound to make things that don't, align. Obviously, since most of you will be designing them in Figma, it makes sense to also keep documentation here. Yeah, examples and edge cases that apply to your product and your user. And then, yes, keep things easy to navigate and always updated. Same thing here. Like at one glance, I could tell which one is for regular form, the non-selected, or one that has been filled, and then one that has error. Okay. And then this one just means that, you know, depending on the size of the team, depending on the individuals you have on that team, there should be clear structure that, okay, designer A, designer B, both of you are in charge of updating our design system so that way you don't have multiple people making changes and updates and then getting confused. That's basically what I meant by having a clear defined ownership. Okay. And then obviously, if you don't implement the design system, it's a waste of time. It doesn't work. It doesn't exist. So for these companies, if you look up, let's look up IBM, for example. What's going on? Oh, oh my! I just realized I got disconnected. Hello, can everyone hear me now?
Yeah, it seems like we're having a bit of network glitch because your screen is
Yes, yes.
blank.
Oh, okay, okay. Where was the last item you saw? The last thing you saw or heard?
I think you could go back to if it's not documented, then it does not exist.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
You can
Thank God.
push
It means
on.
wasn't too much. Okay, okay. So basically, just here. Yeah, like I was saying, if you don't, documentation. That's this.
Yes, exactly. We can hear you loud and clear now.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Did you get what I mentioned about? Oh no, wait, let me just go over it again. So what I was trying to explain here is obviously once your design system is ready, you need to have a central place that people can get the latest version. That's what creating a central source of truth means. Whether it's having that in a single Figma file, like the companies I showed you have done, you know, or maybe a Notion file or a Google Doc, whatever the case may be, whatever the industry, just have a single place that, okay, anytime you want to reference, design elements, maybe whether you're working on web or mobile or even a desktop app, that, okay, this is the file to come and check for the latest version. That's basically what this first line just means. And then that file should obviously have examples like what I showed here. Okay, should have examples. Like the example I used there was password input for IBM's design system. So, you know, all the various use cases of password inputs. So this is obviously like when someone hasn't typed anything, once they've selected it, but they've not typed, once they've typed something, and then maybe they made a mistake, and then you include the error. So basically, every use case or every edge case that could happen. So like this for menus, the same thing, whether it be for forms. Okay, and then yes, keeping things easy to navigate. This also connects to the first line I mentioned. Having everything in a central location and clearly labeled that, okay, this page handles just form components. This one just does drop down. Not the one that you have maybe model here, and then you have form in the same page, and then you have pagination. That just will confuse anybody that comes to work with the file. All right. And then assigning ownership, like I explained earlier, this just means that there should be a clear structure that, okay, this is the person or these are the people who will be in charge of updating and you know maintaining the design system from time to time. The reason for that is so that you don't have too many people making changes and then confusing the rest of the team. Like the saying goes that too many cooks spoil the broth. It's the same thing here. There should be a clear structure of who is who and who is making updates, who is in charge. That's basically what I meant by assigning ownership. And then, like I said, real world implementation. So I think this is where I was trying to show some examples. Let me see. Sorry, let me just change this to full screen. Okay. Can everyone see the site I'm on now?
Yes, we can.
All right, beautiful, beautiful. So this is Audi's design system, and theirs is on a website. But you see, the basics still follows. Okay, the basic things that I explained, things like the kind of icons they use, the basic components. So you see that regardless of the industry, it's the same process. They obviously they took time to analyze that. Okay, we make cars, and these cars will have infotainment screen in the middle, in the front. That our drivers and passengers will make use of, and we want all the content they see there to really match our brand, match who we are. So that's why they have things like the UI library here, clearly detailed, like notifications, for example. Okay. Um, let's see. Atlassian. So this is another software company that does they have a diverse range of products for software teams. And similar to what I just showed with Audi, they have the same thing, you know. They put examples on how to do their code elements, and then obviously all the same components. So similar to what I showed you here with these companies, the same thing applies. Okay. And then you see in this document or this web page, they clearly state how you should present like their forms, you know. And then you can see that these examples you can actually test them. So that's what I was trying to explain by actually using them, you know. Like now if you open the main application websites, so if you notice things like the button styles, but let's look at them. Okay. I want to show an example of how they use it on their products. Um, okay, like in this image, you can clearly see the same button style that they are defined here. And the same similar button style that they are defined here is what they use in this actual software. Same thing here. So basically, that's just what I'm trying to say. That whatever you come up with, you know, at the end of the day, that this is what you want, you have to actually use it on a real project, on real products that you're developing for your customers. And then obviously you run your onboarding sessions with the team. So what this just means is that you invite everyone, every stakeholder, so both the marketing people, people who are in charge of like the development team, the testers, and everyone. Basically, everyone who is going to use the product that has been designed according to your design system, you have to have them come in and then get insight from them. You know, similar to how you would do basic user research. You know, but after designing something, you have to come and test it out with the people who are going to use it, who are going to use that product or platform, so that they can tell you areas where there might be issues. Like maybe you only did one kind of error message, and then they tell you, okay, what if a user types their email address instead of password in the password field? What do we show? So things like that. And then obviously pairing with your development team to align your naming structure. Okay, align naming and your structure. So yeah, this is very important. So like with the example you saw here, you see that they don't just show the how they call it, the design, like a picture of it. They actually document how they want these things to appear in their code. So all of this will be done, with the engineering team, with the inputs from the engineering team. They will explain, okay, maybe they are used to doing things with slashes or they are used to having dashes, and then explain, okay, primary button or secondary button or whatever. The point I'm trying to make is that you have to align with the people who are going to build it so that once they start to use it, they don't start disturbing you. You wrote secondary instead of primary here, or then you wrote button, then put secondary. So that's basically what it is. And then, yes, encouraging feedback. So get feedback from the people who are building it and publishing it for your customers to use. But then tell you areas that they have confusions, areas they have mistakes, or there are areas that are not clear. Let me put it that way. And then you obviously make changes and document. So basically, that is what it is. Obviously, because of the time, I can't take time to demo creating one. But like I said, I'll share the links to each of the things I've shown in today's presentation at the end of the call so that you can take time, study you know, how each of these companies, both the large ones and then smaller ones as well, and then even for simple projects like this, so that you get an idea as to the things that tend to repeat and how you can bring them into your own design. Okay. So I think this is the point where I would like to hear questions any from everyone. Switch.
Oh, all right. Thank you so much, sir, for that wonderful presentation. That was really, really beautiful, and you broke everything down seamlessly for us. But then, I would love to know if anybody has any question. This is a point of the session whereby you could just raise up your hand, then I'll just call on you, then you could unmute your mic and express your questions, just ask your questions, and let's get to make the section interactive at this point. Okay, Godfrey, I think you could unmute your mic and let's hear from you.
Yeah,
Please
good
raise up your
evening.
hand if you have questions.
Hello, good
Yeah, good
evening.
evening.
Yeah, good evening. Can hear you.
For the section, I think it was well explained and detailed. So my question now is, like as a freelancer, maybe has your own design system, and Is it the design set maybe I get a gift from the company? Is that the company that's going to give you their own design set to work with, or what you have in your own that is built in your own Figma board already that you use?
Okay, okay. Thank you. For that kind of case, it depends on what you know what you're trying to achieve. So from the question you gave, it's a company that's already existing. They reached out to you, maybe to work on a product or work on an existing platform or maybe create a new one. And you're asking if you should use the design system you have or they should um, they should give you the ones that they use. So yes, for this kind of case, since the company already exists and if they already have one, you use what the company has and then you obviously update it as you go. But if they don't have any design system, let's say it's a new product, a new company from scratch, then you can suggest creating a design system for them. I hope this answers your question.
Yes, you do. Thank you.
All right.
All right. Before I call in the next person, I just want to ask this question. It's one of the questions that was asked in from one of the participants that registered for the session.
Okay.
According to the way design systems are structured, most of the time we have to deal with variables a lot. And considering the fact that we, like a couple of our guys here, are not really experienced in the space, so how important is Figma variables, when creating design systems, and can it be left out? Can it not be left out? Like, what emphasis do design systems and variables, like what's the relationship and how important is it, sir? Can you just lay a bit of emphasis on that before we move to the next question? I think that will be important.
Okay. Thank you very much. So for Figma variables, obviously Figma variables is it's still a fairly new feature. It's maybe like a year or two, since they launched it, and companies have had design systems for 5, 10 years prior to this. So is it important? I'd say yes. If you plan to scale that design system with Figma, maybe you're working in a company and they are going to keep building on their existing products or add new ones, add new features. Yes, having using variables, simplifies a lot of things. But like let me share my screen again. That's my Figma. Yes. Okay. So like this example we have here, you can see very well that we have some basic color styles, textiles, you know, shadows, grids, and all of this. The point I'm trying to make is that you can still do a design system without using variables. But the reason we just use this is that it speeds up implementation. Let's say in this document now, I want to change this font, for example.
Sorry, I don't think we
Okay.
can see your screen, sir.
Oh, wow. Oh, it stopped sharing. Share. Wait. Okay, can you see my Figma's window now?
Yeah, you're good. We can see it.
Okay, so what I was trying to explain earlier was yes, that for some items, yes, you can get away with just using regular Figma styles, you know. Well, where the variables comes to play is that variables allows you to combine styles together. So, and then also, obviously, it gives you more control. Like, let me just give
Sorry,
some
can you hear me, sir?
very basic example. Let's say we have a world as our body. Very well.
Well,
Talking very well.
you were breaking at some point. You were breaking at some point, but I can hear you.
Oh,
I think.
yeah. Apologies, it's the network. I was just trying to give an example here of how variables come to play. So let me copy the text here. Mhm. So now in this example, let's say this is for a section that we have on a website. Now, and let's say the team says that, no, they don't like this font. If you are using regular text styles, yes, you would have to come and change manually here, one by one. But in this example here, that we use variable, we've already defined all the exact, basically all these properties that you would have to edit one by one, you know, like the font name, you see, immediately it changed. The font weights that we use, whether it's medium, semi-bold, bold, things like the line heights, even the text sizing as well.
Your voice is still breaking.
Right.
So,
Sorry, sir. Seems like your network is really bad.
okay, okay. Um, okay, but so far, do you like what I've explained? Has it covered or has it answered the question to some extent
Yeah,
about the
you've covered it to an extent because we can see that you can easily use the variables to change the font weight, the font size without having to type in, just edit it because it has been implemented in the variable. So it's easy to edit without having to stress yourself on typing much or trying to edit it manually. Right. So
Oh,
it's
okay,
covered
okay,
with
okay.
that.
That's good. That's basically just what I wanted to show. Okay, we
Oh,
can move on then.
yeah, Rashidat, you have a question. Good evening, welcome. Can you go on with your question,
Yeah,
please?
good evening. Thank you very much. So earlier I was asking if for a website design is mandatory to actually include the UI library, and also what makes the UI library different from a design system.
Okay. If I got what you said, you're asking whether I should include a UI library for a website design and what's the difference, between a UI library and a full-on design system. Am I right? Okay. 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 So to answer your first question, for a website design or whatever kind of design project you are doing, yes, um, having that UI library is important in the context that, okay, if this is just the only thing that they are building. What I mean is that, okay, if you got hired to do a website design for someone, obviously you should have a UI library so that any further design changes they want to make, or if they want to add more pages, you know, they have a clear structure. Okay. Now, to differentiate, to answer the question of what's the difference between that kind of UI library and a full-on design system. Um, UI libraries tend to be focused on one product. Like the example you gave, a website or a mobile app, while a design system tends to scale for any any kind of digital software that that company wants to make. In fact, it doesn't just stop at digital software, for example, even physical tools too. So I think the best way to explain is that UI library is specific to one product, one app, one website. The design system covers everything that the company does or plans to do. Yeah, that's the difference. The design system is looking to the future. That okay, maybe today we're serving, you know, B2C or we're serving directly consumers. Then maybe in 5 years we start serving businesses. Okay, that's the importance or that's the difference. I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, you did, but I'm still a little bit confused
All
about
right.
the design system because for the design system, when you design it, it's automatically like adjust, or I would say it will be on your system and all that. Let's say you are not working for one company and you're going to work for several companies. Are you going to design different design systems? Because obviously they wouldn't be using like the same theme, or I would say colors and typographics. So does it mean you have to design like the design system or add variables for all those companies you are working with?
Okay. I think I understand where you're coming from now. Yes, there are different companies, and if they are like completely separate, like there's nothing tying them apart from say you just happening to work on all of them, then yes, you they'll require different design systems because there's nothing aligned. If it's like a group of companies, let's take Dangote for example. Now, the maybe you're contracted to work on say Dangote cements, and the after some time they move you on to maybe the refinery or oil or whatever. The point I'm trying to make is that if the companies that you're building this design system for are related or in a group or a conglomerate, then yes, a single design system works for all of them. Okay. If they are all completely separate, and now that I'm even thinking about it, that's even very weird that I can be working on so many companies. But to answer your question, yes, you would have to do um, different design systems for them. Okay. Oh, okay.
All right. It's a nice question, and we really appreciate your feedbacks on that, sir.
You're welcome.
Let's just take Yusuf so we could call it a day. At least we still have like 4 to 5 minutes to spend. Yusuf, you could unmute your mic and let's hear from you.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Shout out to you, sir. This is a really impressive and insightful session. So I've been trying to understand more about this design system better. I've been using it for almost 5 months. I'm working with an agency. So we mostly work on different kind of projects, and I have to go and look for design system that best suit that project, and I will customize it most of the time. So working with this kind of systems like IBM Carbon Design or Untitled UI is a very large design system. So sometimes it's very the file will be very chaotic, copying some of the design system or just publishing it on my library and taking use of it. So I'm asking, like, what's the best way to use those kind of design system. And sometimes I even look after a small design system, just like Raina UI. I don't know if you know that about that. And
Yeah, I
I
do.
actually, yeah, Raina UI. So I actually use that because it's small. I can easily customize it and use it. But my concern here is that most of the time the project will be the same. If I'm using Raina UI, I'm using their icon set. So I find it difficult, like, to just have, if it is the next project. So how do I go, like, if you have any example of some small design system that I can take use of, maybe use their icon set and all that, it will be really beneficial to me. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. Yes, sir. Yeah. To answer your question, yes, like one of the design systems you mentioned, was Untitled UI. Untitled UI has a full one, and they have a mini version that you can select just the base components. I think from what you've explained, you tend to work on different projects, but there seems to be some form of overlap. So you're trying to see if there's a way you can simplify it or uh. So what I would suggest you do is take time and what do you call it? Take some time and do an audit, like what I mentioned on the slide. What elements, what components do you tend to repeat a lot? What items do you tend to use? What kind of headers do you use? Footers, navigation, um, grids. Then after you've done that audit, and I mean what I mean audit is like through all the projects you have done and the ones you are doing, there are definitely some items that are going to overlap. There are some things that will repeat, like icons. After you've done that, you can now create your own design system based on that. That can be small and, like what you're asking for, small and easy to manipulate, easy to update. It doesn't have to be too big. I think I even, I think I went too far showing too many of large software companies. But the point I'm trying to say is that yes, you can definitely find smaller ones that you can edit and add, based on the new use cases that you discover. So do an audit, look for the things that repeat, you know, whether it's through websites, whether it's mobile apps that you're doing, and then create your own file, based on your own style. In fact, that's what I would actually suggest. After going through all these design systems, take the things that you like and the things that you use, edit them, and then have one central file. Over time, you keep, removing things that are excess or things that are unused, and then you have like a minimum viable product. You have your minimum design system. So I hope that answers the question, Yusuf. All right, that's good.
All right. Thank you so much for that, sir. But
You're
just in the
welcome.
next 1 minute before we call the section a day, I think there's a word that comes with design systems that seems a bit complex for beginners and for people that are just trying to understand it, which is token. When we hear the word token in design systems, if you were just to explain this like very short and break it down to the understanding of a beginner or a newbie, what would you define token as, or what would you say token is in a design system? Because it's very important from what we talked about.
Okay, a token is basically just an element or a cell or like I think everyone here has some experience using Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets. Okay, now I want to use an example. Um, in every spreadsheet, you have your rows, you have your columns. So regardless of the kind of spreadsheet you're doing, whether it's profit and loss, an income sheet, whether it's just like a supply list or whatever. You have rows, you have columns. Those rows and columns are made up of individual cells. So the actual content you have in every cell, you can see those as your design tokens. Like in examples I showed in the presentation, tokens could be like button, for example, button, form field. Every single element, that you group together to have your design, your complete design. Or like on a landing page, for example, the logo on the header or the actual links, each link, those are tokens. Okay, these are like specific elements that when you're creating your design system, you could have, maybe for a button, primary slash web slash whatever. Those terms that I just mentioned, the primary, the web showing what platform, those are actual tokens. So there's nothing complicated about it. Okay. They're just basic elements. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Andy Kambasi, for coming on the session. I want to see the emojis pop up, please. We need to appreciate. We had a nice time. We had a nice time with you, and we cannot appreciate you enough, sir. Your section has been really amazing and impactful. And from here, I think from what you've taught us, you've laid a good foundation that we could make some more research and scale through some other design systems, and from there we could have balanced understanding to start creating, making mistake, refining, and getting better at these things. We really appreciate you from Pexels, from the team, from the students, from everyone on this call. We say thank you so much, Mr. Bassi. Thank you so much. As we bring the session to a close, we hope to see you on our session some other time, and thank you for your contribution, sir. Have a nice day, everyone. Thank you.
Just before you close, I just want to add the list of the design systems that I showed so that
All right, sir.
you can access them later.
All right, sir.
I think it's
You could drop it in the comment box.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing now.